Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashely Liliana and I am a Latinx who has lived, traveled, and volunteered abroad. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I moved to Chile, the visa process for the temporary resident visa, and also some tips that I learned along the way. Before we get into the video, I just want to give a bit of a disclaimer. The video that you're about to see was filmed back in January 2021 when I was still in New York. If you watched my video, what you need to know when traveling to Chile, you'll know that I am now in Santiago de Chile under a tourist visa. Although I have decided to no longer apply for that temporary resident visa, for no particular reason, just for personal reasons, everything that I mentioned in the video, the documents that you need, and how I got all those documents needed for the visa application still is useful information that I want to share with you. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Before we get into the video, I do want to make a quick note that the requirements, the visa process that I'm going to be talking about today are for people that are applying from the United States. So if you are from a different country watching this video, feel free to stick around and watch, but please make sure that you check with your country for specific visa requirements. Okay, so now I want to discuss briefly how to move to Chile. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the ways that I moved to Chile. First time when I moved to Chile in 2019, I applied to CIE's Teach in Chile program. So essentially, I was teaching English as a second language to students between the ages of 18 to 25. That's the program that I was doing. And you do have to pay a program fee for CIE's Teach in Chile, but I felt that this was the best way. They provide in-country support for the entire year that you're there, so that was really great. You also have support throughout the process, and part of that fee program also covers health insurance. So that's quite important actually when we talk about the visa process. So all of those things just made it seem easier, and for me were reasons to go through this program the first time. I'll leave the link below if you're interested. The second time, which is how I am applying for this visa and moving to Chile, is getting hired through a language company. So again, teaching English, but kind of cutting out the middleman. So I directly applied to this company, just like you apply to any job. You will need to send in a resume, make sure you have all the qualifications that's needed for the position, and you will do an interview. I did interviews both times. For both, some companies do require you to do a demo lesson. I did not have to do that for either, but just keep that in mind. If you find a language company, they might ask you to do a demo lesson as part of the interview process. I will leave the link for both of those companies that I mentioned down below. Feel free to message me, email me if you have any more questions or want some guidance or more information about the programs that I mentioned. So now moving on to the fun part, the visa process. So the information that I was sharing with you today is all as of December 2020. I am currently in the process of applying for my second temporary resident visa. And so I'm going to be sharing with you what I've done in the process so far and what I've learned and where I've gotten all of the documents that I needed. So let's begin with, what is the temporary resident visa? What can you do? So this visa allows you to live and work in Chile for up to a year. Once you get hired from a company in Chile and they issue your contract, I would recommend to email your consulate immediately. So I live in New York City, so I emailed the New York City consulate. And I just asked them, what are the requirements for the temporary resident visa? Sometimes they will just redirect you to this website. Other times they will provide additional information. So everything that I'm sharing with you today is based off what the New York City consulate has told me that is required to apply for this visa. So first up, I'm going to talk about the documents that you need in order to apply for the temporary resident visa. So you will need a contract that will come from the employer in Chile, proof of bank solvency, a passport photo, health insurance, medical letter, diploma with apostille, an FBI background check with an apostille. Excuse me if I mispronounce that. I've been searching on how to pronounce that correctly, so if you know, let me know in the comments below. So if you're like me, you probably don't know what an apostille is, and to save you the time to try to figure out what it is and what it's used for. For those of you who have worked or lived abroad, you're probably familiar with an apostille, but for those who don't know, an apostille is legalization of a document certifying its authentication for international use. Because the apostille's turnaround times are longer than normal, I recommend starting with those two first. So first up is the diploma. First thing I did was I went to Google to research how do I get my diploma with an apostille. I didn't know how, I didn't know where to begin, so I just started researching, and I spent around a day researching, trying to figure out what to do. I emailed a bunch of third parties, talked to them over the phone. They were saying that it would cost around $400 to $600, that I had no idea like what documents they needed in order for me to get my apostille. It was a lot of stuff was very unclear. So what I did and what I recommend for you to do is I emailed my school. I emailed the registrar's office and I asked them, you know, I'm in the middle of applying for a visa and I need my diploma with an apostille. Could you please provide some guidance on how I can get my diploma certified and the apostille process? Something along those lines. And the same day, I got an email with a document saying that the school actually takes care of the apostille process. All I had to do was mail them some documents, fill out some applications, and send it over to them, and they would take care of the rest. So for you to have an idea of what are the documents that I had to send my school to get my diploma with the apostille, I had to send them a copy of my diploma, fill out a transcript request form, a written letter requesting an apostille, not typed, written, and a money order. The cost for the apostille was around $26, and the time took about 6 weeks. It does say that it would take normally around 4 weeks, but because of the pandemic, I'm assuming it was a little bit longer, so it did take around 6 weeks. I applied for it end of November, the last week of November, and I didn't receive it until the second week of January 2021. The second document that you need is the FBI background check with the apostille. So this one is also a bit tricky because there are 2 steps to this process. The first thing that you need to do is you need to get your FBI background check. There are a few ways to obtain your FBI background check. You can either apply directly to the FBI or you can apply to an FBI approved channeler. An FBI approved channeler is just these companies that are approved by the FBI to perform these background checks. So both times that I've done my background checks, I've done them through FBI channelers. The first time that I did it, I did go to my local police station. I got my fingerprints taken in the FBI fingerprint card. I took that with the application and I mailed it to one of the companies listed on the FBI approved channeler page, and I waited about a week to receive my FBI background check. At that time, we didn't need an apostille, so it was fine. But this second time around, because the apostille was required and I knew that it was taking 5 to 10 weeks to get this apostille, I wanted a quicker turnaround time. So I found an FBI approved channeler at a live scan location, meaning they'll take your fingerprints and they'll send your fingerprints directly to an FBI approved channeler, and you will get your background checked either the next day or the very same day. So in my experience, I got my background checked the same exact day. I went early in the morning to get my fingerprints taken, and by 6 p.m. that day, I had received my FBI background check. Cost for obtaining this FBI background check will vary depending on the company that you use. I paid $100. The reason being is I requested not just the PDF form of the FBI background check, but I also wanted a hard copy. It was just for peace of mind purposes. I think if you just wanted the PDF version, you only had to pay $80 at the location that I went to. But again, do some research, see what's in your area, see the cost, see the different options that they have, and choose the option that best fits your budget. So now the second step is obtaining the apostille for your FBI background check. So you can apply directly to the FBI or you can do it through a third party. So I went through a third party called Southeast Spanish, and their service for the FBI background check with the apostille cost around $80. It was a lot lower than some of the other services that I had seen from other companies. What I personally liked about it, they seemed like they were a smaller company, but they had great reviews on their website, and it was really easy to get in contact with them. A big reason why I chose to go with a third party was for peace of mind. Again, if you rather go through the FBI and save money, feel free to do it. I do not have that experience to share with you. I just went with what was best for me. Also link the company that I use below if you are interested in the third party. So now that you've applied for your apostilles and you're waiting, you can start gathering your other documents that are needed for your visa application. So you will need your contract. Of course, we discussed that a little bit briefly at the beginning of the video. That will come from the company that hires you. Both times I've received my contract in PDF form, and I've also received the hard copy. The hard copy took about a month to get here. If you get your apostilles and you have all your documents, because it is an online application, you can just submit the PDF form of your contract. That's totally fine. And just know that a month later or a month or so, you will receive the hard copy of your contract. The next document you'll need is a passport photo, and that's pretty self-explanatory. I just went to my local CVS and got my passport photo taken for about $14.99, I believe was the price, and I believe I got 2 copies out of it. I just scanned one of the passport photos, and that's what I used to upload it when I applied for my visa online. And I did take both of my passport photos with me when I moved to Chile. Next, you're going to need proof of bank solvency or financial solvency. And what I did was I just went online to my bank and I printed a bank statement, saved a PDF, and also printed a hard copy of my bank statement. I didn't need to get it notarized or authenticated by the bank or anything like that. I do have a friend who did apply back in 2019 and she did have to do that. She was from a different state. So just make sure with your consulate if that's something that you need to do. I provided my bank statement and that was perfectly fine. The next thing you'll need is health insurance and showing proof that you have health insurance. So the first time I went, the program fee that I had paid in the beginning covered my health insurance, and it was through iNext. What I did like about iNext was that they provided these like ID cards, and so it was nice to carry that around. It was like if you had, an insurance card with you at all times. Prior to that, I also have used World Nomad. This time around, I am researching another company to go through. Forbes has the best travel insurance for 2021, so I will link that article below that lists different travel insurance companies and different plans and why they're the best, and all of those do cover COVID-related sicknesses. A good thing to keep in mind as we are living through a pandemic. Cost for health insurance depends. Again, the company that you're using, it depends on the plan that you are deciding on, because they do have different plans for different activities, and so the more it covers, the more expensive it will be. A quick search, I looked at some and it was anywhere between $800 up to $1,000. Remember that your health insurance has to cover you for the entire year that you're living and working in Chile. So it is going to be costly, just keep that in mind. But do your own research, what fits your lifestyle the best, your budget the best. Those are the 2 companies, World Nomads and iNext, are ones that I have used. The final document that you're going to need is a medical letter. I just told my doctor, my primary care doctor, that I was moving abroad and I needed a letter that stated that I was in good health and free of any diseases in order to apply for my visa. And so once you have all of your documents, it's now time to apply for your visa. The visa application is pretty straightforward. It's all online. You'll be provided by a link from your consulate, or you can find it on your consulate's website, and you fill out all of your personal information. You fill out information, of your time in Chile, and then once you get to the final page, you will upload all of your documents. Important to have, yes, the physical copies of your documents, but also a PDF version that you can easily upload. Once your visa is ready for pickup, your consulate will email you with a date and time. They'll also let you know how much the money order should be, which is how you pay for your visa, and you go and you pick up your visa. I want to leave you with some tips that I've learned through the process. The first thing is to email your consulate immediately. They'll give you the most up-to-date and the most accurate information, so that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to start with your apostille documents. Right now, we're living through a pandemic, so they do have the longest turnaround time. So start with those first, get those out of the way, and you can work on the rest of your documents that you need for your visa application. Number 3, have all of your documents before filling out your application online. I don't think you can start it and then save it, and it's just easier. It does take about 20 to 30 minutes to fill out the whole application. So it's best just to have all your documents, have a PDF version of them, and once you're ready, apply. Number 4, this may seem silly, but use cash to pay for your money orders. I do have a postal service near me, but it's always busy. There are also check cashing places that you can go to. And every time I've gone, I always forget to bring cash and I pay with a debit card, which you can do. But they do charge, at least here where I live, an extra fee for the money order. And so this visa is already quite expensive. So if you do want to save some extra, money, paying some fees here or there, I recommend just bringing cash to pay for your money order. Number 5 is make copies of all your documents. I like to have a set of copies that I leave with my mom back home. It could be another family member, it could be a friend that you trust, but I always like to leave a set of copies with my mom, and then I take another set of copies with me. I also did take all of my documents that I needed for the visa application. I took it with me the day that I picked up my visa. I was not required. It wasn't asked for them while I was there, but again, for peace of mind, I like that word, I just took them with me because you never know, and so I just took all of my documents just in case. And number 6 is to have patience. I know that seems obvious, but take it as a reminder if you're watching this and you're in the middle of the process or about to start, you're going to need patience. It is taking a lot longer. Visa processes are overwhelming and they take a long time and they can be frustrating and overwhelming. And so patience is key when you're in the process and applying, because there is a lot of moving parts and a lot of things you have to organize. So this is just your friendly reminder to have a bit of patience in the entire process. This concludes the visa process for the temporary visa. I wish you the best of luck if you are in the process of applying or about to start, or you're waiting for that visa and waiting for that email to come through. I wish you luck. If you have any tips or any recommendations for any of the companies, for any of the documents that I mentioned, feel free to say anything that I missed down below. I would love to read your experience. It might help me out. It might help somebody else out. I also have a blog post about the visa process, so if you don't want to watch this whole video again, I will leave the link below for my blog post where you can read through. There are also all the links that I've mentioned throughout the video will be below, but are also in that blog post for reference. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Ciao!